Hello everyone, this is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for December 8th, 2025. It's the time of the week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. I'm Scott. I'm sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. CircuitPython development is primarily sponsored by Adafruit, so if you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from adafruit.com. This meeting is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server. You can join anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. We hold the meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel and the CircuitPython voice channel. This meeting typically happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. US, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Pacific Time, except when it coincides with the US holiday. In the notes doc, there's a link to a calendar you can view online or add to your favorite calendar app. We also send notifications about upcoming meetings via Discord. If you'd like to receive these notifications, ask us to add you to the @CircuitPythonistas Discord role. There is a shared notes document that accompanies the meeting and recording. You can contribute to this document beforehand. The final notes document includes timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use the doc to skip around and view parts of the video that interest you most. The meeting tends to run 30 to 60 minutes. After each meeting, we post a link to the next meeting's notes doc to the CircuitPython dev channel on the Discord. Check the pinned messages to find the latest notes doc so you can add your notes for the following meeting. If you wish to participate but cannot attend, you can leave hug reports and status updates in the document for us to read during the meeting. The meeting is held in 5 parts. The first part is community news. This is a look at all things CircuitPython and Python on hardware in the community. It is a chosen set of items from our Python on Microcontrollers newsletter. The second part is the state of CircuitPython libraries in Blinka. This is a quantitative overview of the entire project. It's a chance to look at the project by the numbers, separate from our status updates. Third part is Hug Reports. Hug Reports is an opportunity to highlight the good things folks are doing, taking the time to recognize the awesome folks in our community. The fourth part is Status Updates. Status Updates is an opportunity to report on what we've been up to. Take a couple of minutes and talk about what you've been doing the last week since the last meeting and what you'll be up to over the next week. The fifth part is In the Weeds, and it's an opportunity for more long-form discussions. These discussions can come out as status updates or be something we've identified ahead of time as too long for status updates. You can also preemptively put those, if you can't make a meeting but still want us to discuss something, you can put those in there in the notes doc as well. And that covers how the meeting will go. With that, let's get started with community news. I will switch over and take a timestamp. So, community news. This is our select choice of things from our newsletter. And the first item is why developers still flock to Python. Guido van Rossum on readability, AI, and the future of programming. GitHub sat down with Python creator Guido van Rossum to discuss several modern developments in the industry. Quote, the people now writing things for AI are familiar with Python because they started out in machine learning. Python isn't just the language of AI. It enabled AI to become what it is today. That's due in part to the language's ability to evolve without sacrificing approachability. AI should adapt to us, not the other way around. And a second quote from it is, Python is approachable because it's designed for developers who are learning, tinkering, and exploring. Python's future remains bright because its values align with how developers actually learn and build. Readability, approachability, stability, and a touch of irreverence. So those are great quotes, and I would just add that that's why CircuitPython's so great as well. Okay. Next up, why is everyone switching from Arduino to MicroPython? Kevin McAleer streams that MicroPython is becoming the language for learning and developing code on microcontrollers. He asks why this is and what are the differences from Arduino. And last up, we have Python 3.14.1 is out with many improvements. Python 3.14 was released back in October, but a few bugs managed to push through the big release, and a few other changes weren't ready for prime time. A new minor update has now arrived as Python 3.14.1, containing around 558 bug fixes, build improvements, and documentation changes since 3.14.0. And there's a couple links there. Also released was Python 3.13.10, so 10, containing around 300 bug fixes, build improvements, and document changes since 3.13.9. All right, newsletter details. The Python for Microcontrollers Weekly newsletter is a CircuitPython community-run newsletter emailed every Monday. The complete archives are at this link, which is adafruitdaily.com/category/CircuitPython. It highlights the latest Python and hardware-related news from around the web, including CircuitPython, Python, and MicroPython developments. To contribute your own news or projects, email cpnews@adafruit.com, and we appreciate your contributions. All right, next up, time code. The state of CircuitPython libraries and Blinka. This is an objective view of how things are going, meant to kind of ground us, not just in how we feel, but also some metrics that we can track. So overall, we had 9 pull requests merged from 8 different authors. Skeet and NoQman are less familiar to me, so thanks to them in particular. We had 7 reviewers, which is awesome as well. Issues-wise, we had 2 closed issues by 2 people and 7 opened by 7 people, so we are net up a few. I will continue and read the stats for the core. For the core, we had 1 pull request merged from 1 author, from FoamyGuy, and reviewed by Dan. So thank you both. We have 26 open pull requests, which is 1 above kind of my goal of being under a single page of 25. But I've got a couple that'll get in today, so that should be achievable. Issues-wise for the core, we had 1 closed issue by 1 person and 4 opened by 4 people, so we are net up 3 for a total of 836 open issues. Now we use milestones to triage and prioritize those issues and prioritize the work for the Adafruit funded folks. The kind of main thing we're working on now is 10.0x has 9 open issues, 10.1.0 has 5 open issues, and then we have 88 open issues on the 10xx, which are kind of like, yeah, sooner would be better, but not necessarily immediately. And that's 0 issues are not assigned to milestones, so we are keeping up with triage. And next up, let's ask FoamyGuy to read the library section.
All right, thanks, Scott. This section covers all the CircuitPython libraries, which are split on GitHub into 2 different bundles, we call them, a big list of libraries for each bundle. We have the Adafruit bundle, which is at 379 libraries currently, in the community bundle, contributed by third parties, members of the community. That one's at 172 libraries right now. So we have a total of 551 libraries currently that support CircuitPython. And these are the Python level of code. These are usually either drivers for specific bits of hardware or helper libraries that help you create a project at a higher level without worrying about some of the lower level details. Across all those libraries in the past week, we had 7 pull requests merged by 6 different authors. I think that you mentioned them before, but the name that stuck out to me this week as newer, less frequent was NoQman, and we had 5 other authors here as well whose names do pop up more frequently in these lists, thanks to them too. We had 6 reviewers, and again, mostly the usual folks, thanks to Brent, I will say, for doing some CircuitPython reviews this week as well, getting in some CircuitPython IoT-related stuff. Of the pull requests that were merged, the oldest one was 9 days old. The newest couple were only a day old. And that leaves us right now with 48 open pull requests across those libraries. The oldest one is getting up there still, 1,208 days. The newest one is 3 days old currently. And issues-wise, it was a relatively slow week. Just 1 issue closed by 1 person, 2 new issues opened up by 2 people. And that leaves us right now with 761 issues across the Adafruit bundle libraries. And there is one of those currently that's labeled Good First Issues. You can find that one listed at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is a website where you should head if you are interested in getting involved. There's a list of open PRs there. The first thing we usually point folks towards is reviewing, so you can look in that list, click through to GitHub, read about what the PR is, and leave a comment there, letting us know what you found when you looked it over. You can look at things like syntax, spelling, logic, all of that sort of stuff. If you have the hardware, that's even better. You can test it out on hardware, and then in your comment, include that information. Let us know how it went when you tested it, what device you tested it on, a version of CircuitPython, and everything like that. If you get comfortable doing those reviews, leaving comments, we can get you leveled up to leave official reviews over on GitHub as well if you would like. And the other thing that you could start doing once you've gotten your feet wet a bit is contributing some of your own code, which you can also do still at circuitpython.org/contributing. If you click over to the Issues tab, you get a similar list of links to GitHub, but these ones represent issues. No one has made the proposed change to resolve that issue yet. It's waiting for a person to come along and be interested in working on it, and that could be you. The process starts pretty similarly. Just click through to GitHub, read up on what the issue is, and then you'll be submitting your own PR if you want to try to tackle one of these. We have a Learn Guide for contributing to CircuitPython using Git and GitHub, and we also have folks who are more than happy to help you out here on Discord. So if you want to get involved reviewing or submitting some of your own proposed changes, come say hi on Discord in the Help With channel or the CircuitPython Dev channel. We would love to get you spun up and help you out with any kind of trouble that you're having. And then I will leave you with library updates for the last 7 days. The new library this week over in the community bundle that caught my eye was CircuitPython Serial TFT for open smart serial displays. So if you've got some of those, check that out. We now have support from the community bundle. Thanks.
Thank you, Foamy Guy. Okay, next up, I will read the Blinka section. Blinka is our CircuitPython compatibility layer, so it allows you to run CircuitPython code and libraries on top of single board computers like a Raspberry Pi that run Linux, but also on top of MicroPython. So numbers for Blinka, one pull request merged from Skeet, reviewed by Maker Melissa, who leads Blinka. There are 17 open pull requests. Most of them are on Pi5, PO Matter, and NeoPixel, which is interesting. There are 0 closed issues by 0 people and 1 open by 1 person, for a total of 143 open issues. And there are 166 supported boards by Blinka. Okay, next up, we have Hug Reports. Hug Reports is done as a round robin, so I will start and then we'll go through the list of folks in the notes doc. If you aren't able to make the meeting or you don't want to speak during the meeting, go ahead and add your notes to the Hug Reports and the status updates sections, and I'm happy to read them off as we get to them. If you're not participating in the round robin, you don't need to put anything. I'll just go off the notes doc. So Hug Reports is a chance to say thank you to folks in our community for what they've been working on and highlighting the great work that people have been doing. It also helps reinforce what we value as a community. So I will start and then go through the notes doc. So firstly for me, a hug to Sam Blenny for working on expanding HashLib. And then another hug to Renze from Discord, who I hugged last week as well. Again, for the ESP32P4 USB tip, I got it working last week on the Tab 5. So we have CircuitPy drive on the Tab 5, which is exciting. All right, next up is Dan.
Okay, so thanks to Sam Blenny for adding SHA-256 to HashLib. That PR is in process right now. Thanks to Tim for an addition to bitmap tools and also the bitmap label additions. Sort of adding all kinds of features to bitmap label itself. And thanks to Bablock B, who noticed seemed to be a slowdown between CircuitPython 9 and 10 when USB SD card support was being used, and did a bunch of quantitative comparisons on that. That'll be very helpful when we go to look at that problem. Okay.
All right, thanks, Dan. Next up is Foamy Guy.
All right, I have hard reports thanks to Dan and Melissa, both for reviewing my PR on bitmap label with refactoring and additions. Thank you to GitHub user Jan Lunge, who is the maintainer of POG. I don't necessarily think that we'll hear this, but I wanted to shout them out this week for responsiveness on an issue and a PR for their repo, as well as making a change and doing a quick release to get CircuitPython 10 supported for POG, which is like a configuration tool for KMK keyboards. So thanks to them. And then lastly, thanks to Dunkman00 on GitHub, who has submitted a bunch of improvements to Circup over the last month or two. Appreciate all of the work there. Thanks.
Thank you, Foamy Guy. Last up, I have notes from Liz, who says, "Hug report to Foamy Guy for getting POG/KMK working with CircuitPython 10. That made Noe's upcoming keyboard guide possible." All right. Next up, we have similar format, different topic, status updates. So this is a chance to talk about what you've been working on in the past week, but what you plan on working on in the coming week. And again, I will start, and then we'll go through the folks in the notes doc. So first up, some housekeeping for me. I plan on being out next Friday because my kids don't have daycare. And then Christmas Eve through New Year's Day, I will be out. So I will be, my last day will be the 23rd, and then I will be back on the 2nd, which is a Friday. So I have a PR. I actually merged it in since I wrote these notes for getting the full USB working on the tab 5, so that should be checked in. I also have a pull request out for, or maybe that's not true. I forget which one I merged in. One of these is merged in. Also for adding I2C support to the Zephyr port. Dan had a suggestion. I think I committed it, but I haven't merged it in yet. I was working last Friday and last week on getting the tab 5's display working. This is like the second DSI display I've gotten working with the P4. I realized that on Friday I was adding debug prints to make sure all my init commands were the same, and that made it work. If I turned all the debug prints off, it didn't work anymore. So I know that I have a delay issue that I've got to take a look at there. I did get caught up on pid.codes reviews because there were a couple CircuitPython boards that were using those, so I got through that. I had it was like 3 pages of PRs to look at. It was like 60 or 70 of them. I hadn't done it for like 6 months. Next up this week is Zephyr SPI support. So getting the core kind of 3 buses. We have UART, we have I2C, and we'll have SPI. Once I do that, then I also want to make the Zephyr port enable things like display IO 4-wire that can be built on top of it. There might be some macro stuff that has to happen to make that work. I'm anxious to tackle Zephyr BLE support, but I'm going to wait till January to do that so I don't have kind of like a week off looming over me. I also did start prepping for CircuitPython 2026 discussion. So this is our annual planning phase that I'm looking forward to a lot because I've been like very limited in my CircuitPython time this year for the latter half of the year. So I'm excited to as a community, think about what we want to do with CircuitPython next year. And I will start that discussion probably on the 2nd of January and go for a couple weeks before we wrap up. So think about that, know that's coming, and we'll do that at the start of January. Okay, next up, let's hear from Dan.
Okay, I've been working on implementing Wi-Fi socket pool and SSL under using Airlift, the Airlift coprocessor, also known as ESP32 SPI. We have a separate library for that. That was implemented before the native Wi-Fi implementations. So basically, this would mean that you could use code that's written for the Wi-Fi module on something like a PyPortal without having to import the ESP32 SPI library. So that's various pieces of this are working, like scanning for networks is working, fetching and setting your host name is working, your MAC address, that kind of thing. So I just have to, there are a bunch of things to implement, and I'm going through them and implementing them. And when we're done, there'll be a lot more commonality. There could be a lot more commonality between code for things that use the coprocessor boards that use the coprocessor and boards that have native Wi-Fi. So this would also mean that we could use something like import Wi-Fi on the Fruit Jam.
Right.
And then secondly, I talked to Scott last week, and based on some various issues that are outstanding and requests, maybe we'll add a few more settings.toml options so that, for instance, you can turn off the BLE workflow if you don't want to use it, and maybe turn off the safe mode delay or reduce the safe mode delay. You could reduce it to 0, maybe, in case you want CircuitPython to start up as quickly as possible. That has been a request by a small number of people, but consistently. And maybe we'll think of some other things that we want to be able to control with settings.toml and turn on and off. If you have some suggestions, then feel free to open an issue about that. Okay.
Yep, and I'll just note that the Wi-Fi coprocessor stuff is really common in P4 boards as well. So I'm looking forward to having it there as well. Okay, let's hear from Foamy Guy.
All right. One of the main things I've been working on is in display text, refactoring to make bitmap label support outlines, marquee scrolling, and accents. So the accents are new for the project that I'll mention here in a minute. Outlines and scrolling we had before, but those were in separate classes, so you couldn't use them together. And there were like slightly, different APIs, and you just kind of had to import differently, create a different class. So the new version that's in the PR, bitmap label now supports all these things, and you can mix and match them together. You can have outlines and accents and scrolling all at once. The main sort of motivation for this was the project I'm working on, which is MagTag literary quotes clock. So it will basically, it's got a big list of different quotes from books, one for each different minute of the day, more or less. And it will choose one at random for the current minute and then show it on the screen. I did have to solve some interesting challenges working on this. The main one being the quotes file is actually rather large. It's almost a meg, and so it was not fitting on the MagTag as is. I ended up breaking it. Well, at first I tried zipping it, and that worked. It fit into Flash, but then there was not quite enough RAM to both read it, the zipped version, and then unzip it into the clear text version. So I ended up splitting it into 24 files, so there's now one for each hour of the day. And zipping it, and that works good. It can just unzip the one it needs and pull a quote out of there and show it on the screen, and it's able to fit and run through that. So I've had it running on my desk here for the last couple of days, trying to hammer out the last few issues with that. The other things I worked on, I tested out the POG configuration tool for KMK. I did it on the MacroPad device, but this supports a number of different custom keyboards and like existing keyboards that you can buy as well to make them sort of run a CircuitPython firmware that lets you customize like what keys do and everything. And this POG utility is actually really cool. It adds a whole UI on top for setting everything up so that you don't have to dive into the code if you don't want to. And you can get like visual representation of the layout of your keyboard and what key is going to do what, which I think is super cool. The last thing I got is on my stream over the weekend, I worked on a Fruit Jam snowflake maker. So you can kind of click around with the mouse. You click a few different points, and then you close the shape. You click back to the beginning point, and it will sort of cut out the polygon shape that you clicked your points for. And then what it does is use tile grid, flip X and Y mirroring in order to kind of unfold, as it were, like if it were a piece of paper, essentially, the snowflake to make repeated sides and to make a full snowflake. So the plan for that one is to adapt it into like a holiday card maker. So you'll design your snowflake, and then you can put in a couple of bits of text for the front and back, and then it will give you some image files or something like that that you could then grab and print from CP saves. So I think that'll be fun. And that's what I'm up to. Thanks.
Thanks a lot, Foamy Guy. All right, that's it. Excuse me. That's it for status updates. Last section we have is in the weeds. I have one topic in here, and then we'll move on. So I just wanted to talk about the holiday schedule. My proposal is we just skip the 29th. So we'll have a meeting the 22nd and then we'll have a meeting on the 5th, but we won't have one on the 29th. Are there any objections to that?
That sounds good to me.
I agree with that too.
All right, done. I will update the calendars. And Anne points out there's no newsletter then as well. All right, that's it. So next, let me just check for next week. Next week we do have a meeting. So I will take a wrap-up time code and then switch to the wrap-up stuff. So thank you, everybody. This has been the CircuitPython weekly meeting for December 8th, 2025. Thanks to everybody who participated. If you want to support Adafruit and CircuitPython, and those of us that work on CircuitPython, paid for by Adafruit, consider purchasing hardware from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. The video of this meeting will be released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and the podcast will be available wherever podcasts are available. It will be also featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter next week. Visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe. The next meeting will be held next Monday, as usual, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Again, we're going to skip the 29th, which is 3 weeks away. This meeting is held on the Adafruit Discord server, which you can join by going to adafru.it/discord. To be notified about the meeting and any changes to the time or day, you can ask to be added to the @CircuitPythonistas role on Discord. We hope to see you all next week. Thank you all for stopping by this week.